Yes, good afternoon, everybody. My name's Austin Williamson, member of CIBSE Home Counties North East region. Thank you for participating this afternoon. There's going to be an interesting presentation presented by Martin Hine of Prolojik Lighting on the subject of smart spaces, which will cover many aspects of smart building control systems and lighting systems. We are going to be taking questions at the end via the chat box. Also on the call with me is James Bourne, who's chair of CIBSE Home Counties North East, and also Mohammed, secretary also of Home Counties North East region. At that point, I will hand you over to Martin to commence the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Austin. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Martin Hine. I am the area sales manager and specification manager for Prolojik Lighting Controls, covering London and the South East region of the country. It's really exciting for me to present this CPD to you all today, as smart buildings is becoming quite a hot topic in the industry, and quite a lot more talked about. And Prolojik are very much investing a lot of time and effort into developing smart technologies to help shape the future of smart buildings. So looking at the agenda for this CPD today, this is very much going to be an insight into what's achievable today, and also with an eye on what outcomes may well be achieved in the very near future. During the CPD, we're going to be looking at the smart space, what a smart space within a building might look like, and also what smart products are available. We'll also look at some compliance and standards required around these smart buildings, and we will also touch on some of the added values gained from implementing such of these technologies. Normally this CPD takes about 25 to 30 minutes, and then afterwards we will have some time for people to ask questions through the panel. Just before we start, to give you a bit of an introduction about Prolojik, if I may. Prolojik was established in 2002, which means that we are actually, as a business, approaching 20 years in the industry, which I think is testament to our business. And we are just well known for supplying lighting control solutions. And we work very closely with consultants, contractors and end clients in assisting in the implementation and design of lighting control solutions. And it's with working with these end clients and customers that we've been able to understand their requirements for smart solutions. And as a result, Prolojik have developed a number of solutions such as PoE and Proxima Smart Sensors solutions in order to help our customers achieve some of their smart requirements. And some of our big projects that we've done, and we have some case studies on for you at the end of this, is applications such as Schroders and London Wall and Arms HQ in Cambridge. So smart spaces and what is smart? So as I say, we're all beginning to hear the term smart spaces more and more nowadays, and there's definitely an appetite for smart solutions. But there have been quite a few perceptions of what smart space should offer or even look like. up until now, there has currently not been any international recognised smart building standards, but we also have seen things in Europe such as the smart building certification, and we also have now the smart score business, and as some of you may already recognise and be familiar with already, we have the WELL version 2, which is a standard designed to focus exclusively on the impacts of the building on human health and the wellness. And the WELL standard gives us the guidance on how to create a comfortable and relaxing working environment that helps maintain the well-being for the user. And we see that a smart space is one that gives a bi-directional real-time data that provides a digital footprint of the day-to-day operational aspects of the building, whilst also offering the users essential control of their spaces. So to achieve a smart space, a combination of smart sensors such as smart IoT sensors located throughout the building is required in order to gather the necessary real-time digital image of the floor space and optimize the working environment, whether that be through air quality, humidity, temperature, light, or even space utilization, in order to enhance the well-being of the space for its inhabitants. This measurable data can then be used for various functions such as the comfort control, increased building optimizations, and tracking of assets and key occupants. Once we have this collective data, it can then also be help to create a more reliable building due to things like predictive maintenance programs, and if we analyze it properly, can also result in financial gains for the client. So where did it all start? So if we look back on the first PIR, which stands for passive infrared, the first one was introduced back in the 1950s for things like burglar alarms, and since then PIRs have developed somewhat, and now there's a huge mixture of sensors in most buildings performing multiple tasks other than just doing things like presence. From a lighting control perspective, the PIR started life detecting presence to switch lights on and off, and then became the requirement to adjust lighting levels based on the outside daylight. And in the last 5 years or so, the PIR has been used to change the colour of luminaires in tune with our circadian rhythm, which is known as the natural internal process that regulates the sleep-wake cycle. It's also referred to as human-centric lighting. There are simple sensors used to ensure comfort, working temperature in a space, and we also have sensors that are able to affect air changes in spaces by measuring CO2 and relative humidity. But the game-changing moment may well be the achievement of Bluetooth-enabled sensors. And we're all familiar with Bluetooth, as it is a standard protocol in pretty much every device nowadays. And these Bluetooth sensors can actually act as environmental sensors, but also using triangulation services can also direct, message us, track us, and even guide us in real time. So for the first time, we've got a building and its inhabitants in constant communication. And by collating and understanding this data, we can make a positive change to the design and the layout of the built environment. And to give you some idea, in 2020, there were approximately 4.6 billion Bluetooth devices in the market, and that is only increasing year on year. So when we have a look at current systems already installed throughout the building, such as HVAC, BMS and security systems, these systems would already have various sensors employed in all areas of the building, including areas such as basement and car parks. However, the lighting control system has far the best coverage of sensors, providing a much bigger digital footprint than most of these systems, as the lighting control sensors are typically installed every 8 meters squared, as opposed to other sensors that are traditionally linked to the BMS, for example, that are situated maybe less frequently across the floor plate. So with the light sensor now becoming a true multifunctional, all singing, all dancing sensor, this means that if the light sensor can take on the functions of other environmental sensors, we can save considerably on installed elements and create a true multi-sensor. In these next few slides, we are going to be looking at some of the features and benefits that you can gain from using the smart sensor technology. When we look at indoor navigation, for an employee working in a large building, trying to find certain locations, such as meeting rooms or operational departments, can sometimes be quite difficult. The smart sensor can certainly act as a navigational guide by transmitting local locations IDs to the person's mobile device and even guide them to their location using a company-based app. In addition, we're also able to send targeted messages to employees directly via the Bluetooth sensor technology by using industry standard messages like Eddystone by Google or iBeacon by Apple. And as long as the mobile device has Bluetooth enabled, such messages like a welcome message or when the next fire drill is going to happen, or even what's on the menu for lunch in the restaurant, can be sent to that mobile device. It could even be events that are outside of the organisation that may be beneficial. Now, asset tracking. When it comes to asset tracking, we probably think about the big brother watching us all the time, but actually when we're working within large organisations, keeping track of our assets is key to the daily running of the business. By using Bluetooth enabled lanyards or even wristbands, we can track and identify key personnel within the organisation, such as fire warden, first aiders, VIP, or even just visitors. And all this monitoring allows us to understand how the space is functioning, monitor potential people, hotspots, and even control seating capacity in areas like hot desking spaces. But it's not just people we need to track, but sometimes hardware assets and operational devices. It could be, for example, the location of critical hospital equipment, and being able to track and locate how many are in the building and where they are at any given time could be life-saving. Or it could be simply the location of the nearest photocopier or fire extinguishers. The list could be endless. In this slide, we're looking at environmental and health solutions. So when we talk about environmental monitoring, we are of course talking about the space that we occupy and work in. When working within an occupied space for a long period of time, it is important that we are comfortable, and this is crucial to the well-being and the output production. By monitoring various aspects such as temperature, humidity, CO2 and ambient lighting, we can adjust the space and ensure that it's not only meets the regulations such as WELL and BREEAM, but also creates a healthy and positive working environment. Two elements that are very relevant in today's society are, of course, sanitisation and physical distancing. physical distancing by introducing Bluetooth lanyards or wristbands. The smart sensor can monitor them and give off a warning if we are working too closely to a colleague. And indeed, this data can then be used to provide a localized track and trace system to confirm who has been in contact and with whom. Sanitisation, of course, when we come to look at cleaning regimes, the system can monitor which desks and offices have become vacant and then trigger a cleaning regime. A great example of one of our customers in Denmark who monitored lots of all of their facilities in the building. They managed to reduce significant reductions in both labour and cleaning materials just by understanding the real-time requirements for cleaning. And then we have a look at, in this slide, people working within the building. So profile-based controls, again, utilising smart lanyards or the wristbands technology. We have the ability to create an individual profile for a user. This could involve a person being able to access all or only part of a secure environment like a laboratory or clean environment, or even to adjust the room settings to their given comfort set points. When we look at lone worker support, this means that key support workers such as security, first aiders and fire marshals can easily be located and alerted in the event of an emergency. Also, out of hours cleaning and security staff would only ever trigger localized environmental support such as navigational lighting, resulting in optimized energy savings. When we look at revenue leakage, the options and optimization possibilities are endless, and with all the additional data can help to reduce future OPEX costs through things like preventative maintenance and also smart monitoring of assets. Revenue savings can be gained by ensuring that vital expensive equipment remains on site, or by measuring how the building is being used by its occupants, and also looking at the energy usage used within occupied and unoccupied areas for wastage. Also looking back at the cleaning regimes, revenue can be saved by the reduction of labour and cleaning materials used for spaces or rooms that have not been used. So we have all our smart sensors receiving all of this information and data. The environment is being locally managed and adjusted, and that data is being transmitted either to an on-site head end or even exported off-site to the client's cloud storage. And through the lighting control head end or building monitoring system, dashboards can be individually tailored to the needs of the client. The visualization we have here is showing an office and the location of various key staff such as fire marshals, first aiders and visitors. And then we have an additional dashboard that can be created for smart analytics to manage occupation rates, understand peak demand timings, desk occupancy, and even automatically free up meeting rooms or breakout spaces. And through time with this data, we can understand just how the building is performing and also make future adjustments accordingly. For instance, if catering has been booked for 6 people and only 4 people actually attend, catering can automatically be informed and the quantities reduced. If a meeting finishes early, then that meeting room is automatically flagged as vacant or ready for cleaning. And more importantly, through monitoring the space occupancy, we can ensure it is not overoccupied, so that in the event of an emergency, evacuation can take place safely, and afterwards we can also see that an area has been completely evacuated. So let's have a look at what elements we need to have in order to create our living smart space. First and foremost, we need the Bluetooth Proxima smart sensor with its ability to control the environment and send and receive live messages. The Edge Gateway, which is in effect a hub, can accommodate up to 128 such sensors and then connect this data to either a local on-site head end or even export the information to the cloud via various elements of MQTT to an AWS, Azure or Google platform. And then the data can be presented in a meaningful analytic third-party dashboard. And what about the individuals working in the space? Well, for people and other assets, we have various options. The traditional lanyard can become the method by which we measure movement and positioning, or as an alternative, it can be a smart wristband, which is similar to the Apple Watch. Should we only want to use the system for alerts and track and trace, then a smaller Fitbit style wristband can be utilized, which gives off an alert when users are closer than 2 meters to each other, and thus are ideal for social distance monitoring. For areas such as communal seating or hot desking, a simple asset tag sensor can be attached to the furniture for occupation monitoring and also further analysis. So when we place all these elements into a space, we are in a position to go live, and the beauty of the system is in the utilization of already installed and designed components. The sensor we already need, albeit now a smart multi-sensor, will offer a reduction in installed elements and a great reduction in wiring, and by utilizing the existing data setup and using Cat6 cabling, we reduce both the infrastructure material and labor costs. The gateway is our data collection device and connection to the outside world. And from an HVAC perspective, currently there are separate air quality sensors used for measuring CO2 and VOCs, but it won't be long before a single multi-sensor will perform all of the environmental functions and on one common protocol network. Again, for the individuals, a lanyard is already the go-to method for access control in most commercial and healthcare environments, but also the course of a BLE version would be even smarter. And of course, we also take advantage of the client's local data infrastructure for storage and production of these dashboards. Smart wristbands for movements are already being deployed in schools and healthcare market, and track and trace, as we know, has become a norm in our society. And simple asset tags can be deployed and installed easily to track assets and other seat occupancy data. With all these devices put into practice, we believe that the system is equally suitable and scalable for most buildings, but in particular for the commercial, education and healthcare sector. So as well as the human benefits of working in a smart space, there are considerable financial upside for the client as well. These slides contain findings from put together by an FM provider and is based on case studies and carried out on several buildings for various clients. From savings in the maintenance to increases in productivity, from an increase in life of assets to a reduction in energy costs and reduction in carbon footprint. But perhaps the most significant potential cost benefit in the mid to long term is probably the 5 to 10% reduction in meters square of floor space requirement achieved through space and utilization analysis and management. So to an organisation with a large portfolio of properties, being able to understand their space usage and how much space they need could in the long run offer significant savings. So looking at the WELL standard, how might smart enabled space assist us in achieving and maintaining the WELL standard? For those of you not familiar with the WELL standard already, the WELL standard is the world's first building standard focused exclusively on health and wellness. The standards are administered by the International Well Building Institute, an American public benefit corporation, and third party certified by Green Business Certification, which is the same group as the LEED certification. LEEDs is primarily focused on responsibility of sourcing materials and promoting sustainable building practices, where WELL is more about the effects of the environment on the individual, both physically and psychologically. The overall aim of WELL is, and I quote, is to enhance human health through design interventions, operational protocols and policies, and commitment to fostering a culture of health and wellness. So we believe by utilising smart technology as a design intervention, you can guarantee the optimum environment from the outset, and via this data you can verify that the standard is being met constantly. Looking more closely into the WELL standard, to give you an idea, there are 10 concepts within WELL standard, and in order to get the WELL accreditation points, there are preconditions and optimizations which need to be which will accrue points, and depending on the amount of points you achieve will determine your final accreditation. If we look at the lighting, controls, comfort and air concepts, these are all areas that introducing smart sensor technologies can assist in achieving the maximum amount of points. It is certainly worth looking at the WELL website for some of the UK projects, and one of the most impressive ones you will see is the Royal College of Physicians in Leeds, which is quoted to be one of the healthiest workspace for mental and physical well-being in the UK. So hopefully you found this CPD of interest and have a better insight into what is possible within the smart space. And again, as I said, most of this infrastructure and personal kit is available to us today, and we know we can keep costs down by utilising existing data philosophy, which reduces our install costs, and we will also have a multi-sensor to do all the environmental controls and data. We can align ourselves to the ambitions of the WELL standard and ensure that the standard is met day in, day out. We can also understand how spaces are actually utilised with a view to reducing building footprints moving forward, and also keep our people safe in spaces that are a joy to work and play in. And of course, above all, we can also turn the lights on and off and dim them up and down as well. Lastly, ProLogic have written a number of white papers which can be downloaded from our website, or if at the end of the presentation I can send a link through CIBSE and you'll be able to get a copy through the link. These applications include case studies and more info on the WELL and FOSS compliance, and some of the smart applications we've done on PoE and ARM. And of course, if you have any further questions after this outside of the CPD, then please feel free to send the email through CIBSE. These are my information from ProLogic. Thank you for listening, and I'm going to come back to Austin.
Thank you very much, Martin, for doing it. That was a very interesting and informative presentation. At this point, as you said, Martin, we'll be taking questions via the chat box.
Okay.
So if there are any questions, sorry, James, carry on.
Yeah, I was just saying there's a couple here. And the last question that's come through, I'll do it in reverse order, but it's not loads, so it's okay. There's something that said about any chance you're able to share more details in the FM report, and I think you just addressed that on that last slide. You said that there's some white papers and some more information available, didn't you?
Yes.
Yes. So someone's looking for more information on the FM report. The states on the energy savings and other savings. So as we all know, clients like to see the revenue savings, and you've highlighted that a couple of times. So
yeah, I mean, it's all through analytical data collection from this technology. So it's certainly things that a lot of companies have now. So they have a separate analytics package that is pulling in all of this data information, which is then collating and providing the overall energy savings or cost of assets. Yeah.
Hey, hold on, Martin. So I've just been corrected actually by the same chap. There's a slide. Can you put your slide back up? It's the one that had tangible benefits of smart. 6 boxes on there.
Bear with. Sorry, I'm going to have to this back on here. Okay.
Back. Yeah, that one. So it says, thanks, Martin. Any chance you are able to share more details on the FM report with those states on the energy savings and other savings? Looks like a useful source of info.
Yeah. I haven't got that data to show you from the slide, obviously, but yes, we can certainly try and provide some more information to you directly. Yeah.
Well, what I would suggest, if Vince, do us a favour, please. Use that email at the top of the chat pane. If you could just sort of send that request there, then Ella will pick that up and she's in contact with Martin. Sorry to make you do another email. Hope that's okay.
Okay.
Right, so going for the questions from the top, there's two that sort of there's 2 or 3 actually that are quite linked. The topic of the conversation being about tracking of personnel. So first one, tracking of personnel has previously been problematic due to arguments about privacy, particularly for unions. Does GDPR really provide a basis for reassurance on this issue?
Okay, so when we look at the data that's been collected, it's anonymized data. So what that means is that the information we're just collecting is an ID. There's no personal information attached to that data. So it's anonymized. So there's no infringement of GDPR.
Which answers the very next question, which says, would the tracking system use anonymized data?
There you go.
So I thought they might be linked.
Yeah, so really just to elaborate a little bit on that.
Yeah, please do.
When we're using a Bluetooth device, I mean, don't forget that when you've got a tag for security control or access control, your information is attached to that security tag. So when you go in a room, they know that that person's gone into a room. The data that we're collecting through the Bluetooth is no different than the tag, because the actual information is actually first and foremost is just reading an ID. What the facilities company then does with that ID is maybe give that ID a name. It could be visitor 1, visitor 2, fire marshal, first aider. But that's as far as it goes in terms of the naming convention. As I say, there's no personal information apart from a naming convention attached.
That makes sense. Another one here, similar subject, different. Rather than using a separate Bluetooth device for staff, could one link to their mobile phone?
Separate Bluetooth for staff linked to their mobile phone. So
instead of, use your phone instead of lanyard or anything else that you said.
Oh, I see. Sorry. So near field contact. I mean, it is coming. Yes, I think lanyards are very widely used at the moment, but also the NFC connectivity through mobile phone apps is also becoming the norm. I can see it happening, and I think the answer will be yes in the not too distant future. From our point of view, we're just collecting the data. So I think they're talking about how they control things with the app, and certainly there's when we've collected the data, there's third-party companies that are providing smart solutions, and they have their own apps, and they are providing that technology to the end user. So whether they've got that app to then change the lights, color, temperature, or turn the lights on and off, but also the app will tell them what the temperature is in the room, and it will also give them the functionality to go through a door.
Yeah, that's the key point there, isn't it, about using your phone for that? Okay, couple more. Just a favour, while we're talking, can you put the last slide back up again with your contact information? That'd be appreciated for everybody.
Good idea.
And while you're doing that, I'll ask you to multitask and listen to the next question, which is, how do you approach, this is a good one, how do you approach and get over smart being value engineered out of projects?
It happens quite a lot, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so my how I perceive smart projects going forward, and sort of what we get coming to us as a company. We see lots of specifications on projects in London, for example, where there is a smart criteria. It's still ambiguous at the moment what that smart requirement is. Where we're actually seeing smart technology implemented is within the end clients that own the building and have their own staff. So, for example, who we've done their HQ in Cambridge, and Schroders, who have their own HQ in London. So really not so much the office rent market, so from Cat A to B, because obviously the tenants are changing every now and then. It's more the end client. However, where we look at WELL standard, there is certainly an appetite for achieving the WELL accreditation within new builds and even retrofit buildings. And as the government bring forward more legislation on things like the CO2 monitoring, then there's an area where we can certainly assist by providing that additional data through the lighting controls, for example. But generally, it really has to be the end client that wants that whole smart technology, especially as if they have their own HQ in several cities. They're then going to have to provide their overall carbon figure for their property, and they will need this data in order to do that. If that makes sense.
Yep, certainly does. Certainly does. I'll move on to the next one. Thanks, Martin. Sounds great if you could combine the lighting control with the HVAC BMS system and with the free space devices, especially in offices with 2,000 plus staff.
Okay.
This particular person's got 3 separate systems at the moment, which obviously comes with many issues.
Okay.
So I'd be interested in understanding more about specifications of systems on large scales like that.
Brilliant. Okay, so already as a lighting control system, we integrate into BMS systems via open protocols such as BACnet. So BACnet is a recognised standard protocol that the buildings now adhere to, and if we first and foremost we would use that information to go through BACnet, but a lot of the smart technologies also now with clients want to go to the cloud, or they may have their specific software package that we need to communicate to, and we can do that either through an API or something like that. So really there's nothing stopping us getting that data from our system to a third-party product, whether it's through an API or standard BACnet, or even out to the third-party analytics package in the cloud via MQTT or even Greengrass. So there's no issues there from the integration point of view. It's always going to be down to how many points you need on the size of the building and how many gateways we're going to require in order to achieve that number of points. But it is achievable.
Okay, super. So if there's any more information required on that, you know, good explanation there. But if there's any more information that they require more information, use the email address above and ask for an elaboration on a certain topic. As Hamid said, that, you know, this information, this slide pack will be on the CIBSE website for your information. But if there's anything else on top of that, use the CIBSE email address at the top of the chat pane, and you can ask for elaboration on that. And we'll give you, you got Martin's information direct, so you don't need to come through us. You can go direct to Martin. If you, obviously that's a lot easier. So next one is, are you able to provide payback periods with predicted OPEX cost savings?
Return on investment, I think, is what they're asking there. If we have the application and we know what we're trying to achieve, I don't see why we can't provide that information. We can certainly provide the cost of the solution, and then it's a case of what you're trying to achieve at the end of the day. So certainly with things like carbon neutral and costs moving forward, with the difference between using PoE lighting as opposed to mains lighting, you can certainly do cost comparisons and return on investments on that. When it comes to the smart element of it, we need to know exactly what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah, I suppose you got to do a bit more extensive modelling there, and that's, I think that's the point of the question, is that, you know, we can all do, you know, lighting paybacks pretty easily, but modelling a, you know, footfall and movement around an office for lighting and cleaning savings in cellular offices, etc., that's a bit more difficult to model. So how would you do that? So
necessarily we would provide the data to the analytics company that be providing this data collection. So us personally, we don't do that analytics. We would provide this technology out to third parties that are then doing the data crunching.
Okay, thank you very much. So there's another one here from a repeat questioner. So we've got thanks. So are your CO2 and temperature sensors able to request HVAC adjustments and changes locally, even down to a room, depending on the user's preferences and space occupation?
Okay, right. So there would be different elements of the control within the room. So again, I think over the network from the sensors already, we are providing things like the presence to switch on the heating or the fan coil units in that room. We are then providing that as a BATnet object. So it would be that direction that we would be able to control the room. So if we are looking at CO2 or VOC, we're needing to tell the BMS that there is a set point to introduce more fresh air into the room. So that's one way of doing it, through monitoring CO2 or VOCs. Or if you've got Bluetooth, then of course automatically we can say that there's 3 people in that room, and therefore we need 30 litres of fresh air, and that data can then still be given to the BMS directly, rather than waiting for maybe a set point from the CO2 or the VOCs.
Yep, good comprehensive answer, thank you. Okay, there are no further questions in the chat panel. Oh, here we go. No, just a compliment to say, Martin, brilliant presentation, excellent slides, good pace and response to the questions. Well done, Martin, and I hear that comment. So I'll just give it another 20 seconds to see if there's any other further questions that pop in. Okay. If there aren't any, then as you said, home counties North East, and Martin, thank you all very much for attending.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for everyone.
It's my pleasure. It's good presentation. I like it. So
okay, cool. Good.
Yes,
Thank you.
I'd just like
Nothing
to-
else has come in, so I'm going to close the meeting if that's okay. And everyone's got the recording available, the presentation available on the web page, and you can come follow up to the email at the top of the chat pane if you've got any further questions. Other than that, I'll just say thank you very much to Martin and Austin for organising. Most appreciated. Have a good evening, everyone, and we'll catch up soon.
Thank you all.
It's been a
Bye.
pleasure. Thank you, Martin. Thank you all for attending, also, or joining. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.